All right, so in 8.6, we're looking at cars. And so what you're going to learn is how to compute the monthly payment and interest cost for a car loan, compute the monthly payment for a car loan using a spreadsheet, understand the types of leasing contracts, understand the pros and cons of leasing versus buying a car, understand the different kind of car insurance, compare monthly payments on new and used cars, and then solve problems related to owning and operating a car. So, first off, the mathematics of financing a car. So, a loan that you pay off with weekly or monthly payments or payments in some other time period is called an installment loan. Now, the advantage of installment loans is that the consumer gets to use the product immediately. The disadvantage is that the interest can add a substantial amount to your cost of a purchase. And car loans are called a fixed installment loan. And so, how that's going to work is suppose you borrow P dollars at the interest rate of R over T years, the loan payment formula for a fixed installment loan where the regular payment amount PMT required to repay the loan of P dollars paid n times per year over T years at an annual rate is given by this really complicated equation down here. Not really that complicated. We've looked at it before. And so it's just in a different form. And so this is what we're going to use. So payment is equal to the principal we borrow times the rate as a decimal divided by the number of times of compounding periods and divided by the 1 minus 1 plus the rate over the number of compounding periods to the negative n times t. Again, number of compounding periods and the number of years. So that's the formula we're going to use. So we have to remember all those things when we do the next problem here. So, suppose that you decide to borrow $25,000 for a new car. You can select one of the following loans, each requiring regular monthly payments. So, we have one installment loan A, where we have a 5-year loan at 2%, or installment B, where we have a 6-year loan at 3%. Okay, so one's going to take less time to pay, and the other one's going to take more time to pay. Now we're supposed to find the monthly payments and total interest for loan A as well as loan B, and then compare the monthly payments and total interest for the two loans. All right, so first things first, what do we have? Well, for the first one, let's call it A. What we're going to do is we have to find the payment. So the payment is equal to what? Well, we are borrowing $25,000 times at a rate of 2%. So again, we have to put that as a decimal, 0.02, divided by how many times it's compounded. It's monthly, so it's 12 divided by, and now we kind of put a bracket, and then we have 1 minus parenthesis, then it's 1 plus this again, so the 0.02 divided by 12. Now it's raised to the negative n, and n is 12, and we're going to do it over 5 years. So 12 times 5, and then we put our n bracket, and we'll get a value. And so we're going to do the same thing. Maybe we should do it up here. Let's do it for the 6-year loan. So for B, what we're going to do is our payment is going to be equal to what? Well, it's going to be equal to, again, 25,000, and it's going to be times, but now it's going to be 0.03% or zero point zero 0.03, and it was 3%, and divided by 12 all over. And now we have 1 minus 1 plus 0.03 over 12 and minus 12. But now it's times 6 years, and we have that. So now we've got two equations we have to type into our calculator. So let's go, oops, let's go do that. Let's see if we can find our calculator on here. All right, so what we have to do is let's do the 2% loan first. So that's going to be 25,000 times the 0.02 divided by 12. And then that's going to be divided by parenthesis. And then we had 1 minus parenthesis, 1 plus the 0.02 divided by 12. And then in parenthesis, raised to the power. And then we had a negative 12 times, and this one was only a 5-year loan, so a 5 and then in parentheses. So we've got those. I think everything should be good. And so we get $438.19 is going to be our monthly payment. Okay. Now we're going to do this again. We're going to cheat because we can do that on this calculator. And we're going to change what we have to change. Well, now instead of 2%, we're going to say, well, it's 3%. And we'll put that one at 3% as well. And instead of 5 years, it's now going to be 6 years. And now it says, okay, for the 6 years, we're only going to pay $379.84 per month. Okay, so let's write those down. All right, so this one we said was 438.19. We said this one was 379.84. Now, I believe they usually want us to round to the whole dollar. So we'll go, okay, well, that one's going to be $438. And this one's going to be about $380. Okay. So that's A and B. Now, compare the monthly payments and, oh, we're supposed to get the total interest too. We didn't get that part. Total interest. All right. So how do we find total interest? Well, how much are we going to pay for this loan in total? So we're going to pay, so the interest is going to be equal to, we're going to pay $438 every month for 12 months a year for 5 years. And originally the car only cost $25,000. So if we multiply that together, subtract off our 25,000, that should give us what we get for interest here. Well, what about here? Well, in this case, now it's going to be 380 times 12 times, now it's 6 years. So we'll put a 6, and we're still subtracting off original price of the car of 25,000. So now we can go test those two numbers out. All right, so we had 438 times 12 times 5 minus 25,000. So that one's 1280. The other one, we said it was going to be 380 times 12 times 6 years minus 25,000. And so here we're going to pay $2,360 in interest. All right. So here our interest we said was only going to be 1280. Here we said our interest was 2360. All right. So that now gives us all of part one and part two. Now compare the monthly payments and total interest for the loans. All right. Well, here we have what? We have a higher monthly payment. So higher monthly payment, but we have a lower total interest we have to pay. Now up here, we have a lower monthly payment, but we have a higher total interest we have to pay. So, what is the best way to go? It depends on your finances at the time. If you have not enough money to make the higher payment, what's going to happen is you're going to pay more in the long run by, whatever the difference of 1280 and that is going to be. So, it's going to be a little bit more overall you have to pay, but you're paying less as far as per month. But if you have a higher paying job, then maybe it'd be a better idea to go ahead and pay more per month. Then you have less overall interest you have to pay. Now, the nice thing about most auto loans, if you have extra money each month, you could put in extra money, and then your overall interest actually is going to be lowered also. So that's another way to think about how you can lower your interest. Now, what we're going to do now is use Excel to verify these same values. And so let's switch over to Excel. Here we go. So this is going to be our payment calculator. So how much is our loan going to be? Well, we're going to have to pay 25,000. So we're going to say it's a negative 25,000 because that's how much we have to pay. So it's going to be gone from us. We have an annual rate. Okay, well here we're going to use 2% for the first one, and the number of years was 5, I believe, on that one. And so we have 438.19. Now, how did we get that? Well, there's a function here called the payment function. And what it does is, well, we don't really want to click that. You have to put the rate in, the number of times per year, basically, the present value, future value, all that stuff. So what do we need? Well, we have this is going to be our interest rate. And basically, we're taking our annual rate as a whole number, as a percent, dividing it by 100, which is this. So we move our decimal place 2 places to the left. And we also have to divide it by the number of payments per year, which is 12. So we have to divide by 12 as well. And so that gives us then what the actual interest rate will be. Then the number of times per year, well, that's going to be what? B4, which is our number of years, times how many months there are in a year, which is 12. So B4 times 12, that's going to give us that. And then finally, what is our present value? Well, that's going to be how much the car cost or how much we borrowed the money for, $25,000. Okay. And so when we do that, that's when we get this. So you have to be able to use the functions that are built into Excel and type in what we have. Now, could we have made it simpler? Yeah, we could have done all our calculations here, and then here we just pointed to a cell and done it that way, but that's okay. Now, what if instead we say, okay, well, we had the 3% interest and we had a 6-year loan? Well, there we get our 379.84, which is what we found in the other case. And so again, we rounded that one to the 380, we rounded the other one to 438, and then that was kind of our whole number monthly payments. So that's how we can use Excel using that payment function to find out how much our monthly payments are going to be for that fixed installment loan. All right, so let's pause there and we'll come back for more.